Namaste, Shastriji. We have another session now. Vempati Kutumba Shastriji will talk to us on Khyativadas with special reference to the Anirvachaniya Khyati. I'll just introduce the speaker. Shastriji has had a distinguished academic career. His specialization is Advaita Vedanta, Darshana, poetics, Sanskrit literature, and spoken Sanskrit. Born in Andhra Pradesh, Shastriji had his Rigveda Adhyayanam at Tirupati, and then he received the Vidya Varidhi PhD degree from the Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, New Delhi. He has had a distinguished academic career. He was the first Vice Chancellor, Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan deemed University, New Delhi. And then he was the Vice Chancellor of the Sampurnanand Sanskrit University and the Vice Chancellor at the Sri Somanath Sanskrit University. In March 2019, he was appointed on the Infosys Foundation Chair in Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, Pune. He is a highly feted scholar and is the recipient of the President of India's Certificate of Honor. He has offered guidance to 9 research scholars and has 13 books and more than 40 papers to his credit. He has participated in several national and international conferences, and we are truly honored to have Shastriji talk to us about Khyatis today.
Shri Venkatachaladhisam Sriyadhyasita Vakshasam Srita Chetana Mandaram Srinivasa Mahimhadi Shruti Smrti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Sankaram Sankaram Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sadasiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmad Acharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Dear friends, today, towards the end of this month-long celebration of oneness, it's a great idea that has struck the mind of the authorities of Advaita Academy to call it celebration of oneness. For the simple reason that as far as Indian traditional knowledge sources go, Shankara Bhagavatpada is only one who proposed the oneness of Brahmadi Stamba Paryanta. Brahma Adi and Stamba Paryanta. Stamba is a kind of dry grass, a small, there is also living being, because Chaitanyam, Indian mind has conceived Chaitana in the plant kingdom as well as grass and such negligible forms of life. So throughout in every form of life, from smallest to the highest Chaturmukha Brahma or Hiranyagarbha, the Chaitana is only one, and there is no distinction or difference in that Chaitanya. That's what even Bhagavatpada says in his Manisha Panchakam. Therefore, in several stotras also he exhibits it. That being the case, we are celebrating this oneness of oneness, which is very much required today in differences torn society. I at the outset express my gratitude to the authorities of Advaita Academy for giving me this chance of, say, a kind of loud thinking. I am not that authority on Advaita Vedanta. As well, to speak in English, I have got some limitations. Still, I will, to communicate myself to the larger audience, I think that could be the right medium. Today we have picked up a subject called Khyativadas. In one sense, it is very technical subject, elaborately discussed. I tell you that hundreds and hundreds of pages are exclusively written on these arguments and counter-arguments related to Khyativadas in our Shastri lore. Every philosophical school more or less held his own theory of Khyativadas. That being such a very important and vast subject, and also too technical a subject, the reason why I picked up this subject for today's discussion is the most mind-boggling questions come to the mind whenever, in any form, from scholars to the layman, whenever we say we are discussing about Advaita, the only thing that bothers everyone is that Bhagavatpada has denied the world. The world is asat. The world is not there. Then what for this Vedanta and all that? Somehow, right from starting with Bhagavad Ramanuja, who is also a great propounder of a great school of Visishtadvaita, till today, or even before that, why should we identify one? This idea is constantly bothering the minds of people whenever they hear the word Advaita. My emphasis to say is, neither Bhagavatpada has denied the world, and out of all the theories related to the error, the Advaitic theory of Anirvachanaya is the best theory. There cannot be any better arguable theory, logically speaking also. It is a theory held by Shankara Bhagavatpada that is closer to the common mind and even to the layman. He need not be a scholar also. Anirvachanaya Khyati can be understood by him, whereas other Khyatis cannot be as clearly understood. There are mind-boggling problems in every Khyativada. Now, our purpose of today's lecture is not to just deal with all the nuances of these Khyativadas, which is and also I want to pick up only a few of them. Around 10 to 12 Khyativadas are available in our books. Out of that, 5 are there, and I think I will be dealing with only 2 or 3 in today's lecture. Now, one more thing I want to say as a preliminary remark, that whether we, while discussing the Advaita Vedanta, whether we utter the word Brahman as many times as Na, we utter several times the most common phrases of Sukti Rajata and Rajju Sarpa, that is Jaya and Vijaya, or even, I do not know, they are the gods for us. And we go on repeating these phrases without which Advaita cannot be explained. As everybody is aware of, I am putting it in a lighter way, Sukti Rajatam and Rajju Sarpa. Then, secondly, some vernacular languages like Telugu and others, they heckle the Advaitic theory that Gajam Mithya, Palayanam Mithya. Whenever we say Mithya, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, everybody conceives that we are denying the world. We are stating that the world is non-existent, and immediately reacts in his own way to the Advaita theory. Whereas they pitiably miss the meaning of the word Mithyatva. to explain which a long tradition of Advaitic texts, right from Bhagavad-pada's Bhashya to Advaita Siddhi, and later on till today, text after text are being written. Then Advaita theory is based on three pillars. The center one and the most important one is Shruti. That is anything. So, okay, three pillars are Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. I don't think any other Vedantic school has given such an important place as Anubhava in Advaita. We have given, Shankara Bhagavad-pada has clearly stated, Anubhava avasanatvat, Anubhava avasana. It is Anubhava avasana. The Advaitic discussion, the culmination point of Advaitic discussion is to realize the Brahman, which is a kind of Anubhava. It is Anubhava avasana, and also in one place he says, Na hyagama sahasramapi ghatam patayitum ishate. He says vehemently that anything that is given in Anubhava need not be and should not be examined by logic or by Shruti or anything. Even Shruti he denies. Na hyagama sahasramapi. Even 1000 Shrutis to declare that a pot is a cloth, we have no obligation to accept it because a pot is pot, a cloth is cloth, because both of them are given to our experience in this world. This is the strongest position Bhagavad-pada has held. I don't think in any Vedantic school such an important place is given to Anubhava. This we Advaitins should note it very clearly, but there is a rider. This Anubhava and Yukti, both are very strong. Bhagavad-pada shows in each and small and big aspect of Advaitic discussion, he first shows the Shruti, and then equally he argues with his Yuktis and also shows some kind of Anubhava. This is his methodology of arguing. That's why Advaitic theory is too strong to penetrate and also too strong for others to destroy. Then only one thing should be kept in mind. Both Yukti as well as Anubhava are held to be Pramana only as long as they both support the purport given by Shruti, not vice versa. If Anubhava or Yukti goes against the Shruti, the Anubhava and Shruti has to be dropped. Shruti prevails because the predominance and most important pramana, most authority with regard to the unseen aspects of life, like Brahman and Moksha and all that, which are not perceivable or experienceable through any other cognition than Shruti, the Shruti holds its priority. Three things are basically uncompromisable in Advaita Vedanta. Rest, anything is good. Even Khyatuvada, if you're adopting some other Khyatuvada, if we can satisfy these three aspects of Advaita, then even it is welcome. Everything is welcome in Advaita Vedanta, provided these three are to be held. That the Brahman is Nirguna, Nishkriya, and Suddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swabhava, and Chaitanya Swarupa, Chaitanya Ghana. This is our Brahman's concept. Jagat is Mithya. I am coming to that. Today's lecture is on that. Then, in their essential form, Brahman and Jiva are one and the same. This is stated in a very simple way. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. All that we argue is that the unsublatable entity in all the three times, that is past, present and future, unsublatable entity is only the Brahman, and no second one. Other than Brahman, everything is sublatable either in the present itself or in future. This is our position, which no scientist, no other person can dare to deny. Then I will come to the present topic. These Khyātivāda, why I picked up this technical aspect is, this is very fundamental and basic for Advaitic superstructure. There are 5 Khyātis are prominently discussed in all our texts. Atmakhyati, Rasakhyati, Akhyati, Khyatiranyatha, Tatha Nirvachaniya Khyati, Ityetat Khyati Panchakam. This is what is, this is the shloka summarizing all the 5 theories. Not the content of the theories, their names. Atmakhyati and Asathyati. What is Khyati? We should hold in our mind before we enter into the subject. What is Khyati? Khyati means actually, strictly speaking, jnana, cognition. Because Khya dhatu is only jnanarthaka. Therefore, Khyati means jnana. But by convention, the Khyati word is not used in the context of Yathartha Jnana, but always consistently it is used in the case of Ayathartha Jnana, that is Brahmajnana. Therefore, by convention, Khyati means Brahmajnana, but not by its meaning, but by convention of usage. So, Atmakhyati, Asathyati, Akhyati, Anyatha-khyati, Anirvachaniya Khyati. The first 2, Atmakhyati and Asathyati, are held by Buddhists. Today, I don't think our time and it is better to, if time permits, we can consider them at the end, because it is a, we have to understand the basic metaphysical position of Buddhism of both Yogacara school and also Madhyamika school to understand these Khyātis. Buddhism has got 4 branches, Vaibhashika and Sautrantika and Yogacara and Madhyamika. So let us not discuss the first 2 today. Let us see Akhyati, Anyatha-khyati and Anirvachaniya Khyati. These 3 have got a really very good independent substance and also good arguments. These Khyātis are mentioned by Bhagavad-pada in Adhyasa Bhashya itself. For the sake of just listening to the beautiful sentences of Bhagavad-pada, I utter them once and then start analyzing these 3 theories. Smrtirupah paratra purva drushtavabhasaha. This is the definition of Adhyasa. And then he says, Tan kechid anyatra anyadharmadhyasa iti vadanti, kechittu yatra yadadhyasaha tad vivekagraha nibandhano brahmayiti, anyetu yatra yadadhyasaha tasyeva viparita dharmatva kalpanam achakshate. Then he concludes, sarvathapitu anyasya anyadharmavabhasatam na vyabhicharati. That's all. Here Bhagavad-pada's intention was not even elaborating those theories, nor criticizing them or denying or anything. He didn't enter into that. He made this Adhyasa Lakshana according to the Advaita. And then, having shown the Advaita Vedanta position, he just cites these Siddhantas only to prove the last line is very important. Sarvatha pitu, whatever be the nuances and differences and distinctions between theory to theory, ultimately everyone accepts one thing in a common way, that is anyasya anya dharma avabhasata. This everyone accepts in common that in a thing one experiences something other than what it is, or one experiences something, some characteristics of another object which are not existent in the present thing. This is a commonality he wants to strike, he wants to show to support his theory, his definition of Adhyasa Bhashya. Then, now let us see. Akhyati. Akhyati means, as you can as well imagine, that there is no Brahmajnana at all. This is propounded by Prabhakara Mimamsa. Mimamsa has got two schools, prominent schools. One is Bhatta Mimamsa and the second one is Prabhakara Mimamsa. And Prabhakara Guru has propounded a theory. It's a very wonderful theory. He says the context is to explain the case of shell silver and Rajju Sarpa, the snake in the rope, which is given to the common man for a layman as well as a scholarly man, or a great pandit of a great darshanika. For all, the experience is equal. That is very crucial for us. Here, one experiences during the twilight a snake in the rope. A snake is on the floor in a crooked way. Therefore, it was there in existence for a long time. During twilight, someone is passing that way, half unmindfully. Then he suddenly sees a snake in it and also reacts to it. Not only he experiences the snake, but also reacts to it in a very natural way. Some persons who are not strong enough in their mind may even shiver, may sweat, and also run hither thither, and even call for the assistance, and then even eventually they may bring the some stick and all that and try to hit it and kill it. All these are very naturally we experience. All of us should have had such experience at one time or other during our life. Very common experience. Now, what is the existential reality of the snake that has been experienced? This is the area of Khyativadas. Is it real? Is it totally unreal? Or is it both real and unreal? Or otherwise what it is? These are the fundamental questions. If we understand this context very well, the whole Advaitic picture will emerge very crystal clear in our mind. That's why this is very important. Prabhakara Guru says, Sarvam Jnanam Satyamasteyam. His Pratijna. There is no jnana, no cognition is an illusory cognition. There is no error at all. Every jnana is right jnana. Prama, no aprama. He doesn't accept. Then how do you explain this rope snake and shell silver, which is commonly experienced? He says, the contact of the eye with the object, whatever is before, if you take shell silver or rope snake, the contact of eye is with the rope that is on the floor, which has to be accepted by all darshanikas, immaterial, whatever be the Khyativada. Without eye contact with the rope, there is no question of experiencing the snake at all. Then that is there. To that extent, it is pratyaksha. But what Prabhakar Guru says is, it is not complete as it is otherwise. Though eye contact with the rope is there, the cognition of rope is not complete. It is incomplete on account of some dosha. This dosha factor also every Khyatibadins accepts. It has to be accepted, because that's why the cognition becomes erroneous. Otherwise, it will become right cognition. There is no point of erroneous cognition at all. Therefore, in all the theories of Khyativadas, what is that dosha may some people differ from theory to theory, but a dosha is required. Dosha means some kind of blemish or something, dosha. Here, the twilight, and he is half mindful. He was going somewhere in a hurry. All these, several are there in our texts, vividly taking every erroneous cognition. Such a wonderfully analyzed all these smallest nuances and also factors that lead to the erroneous cognition have been discussed in our commentaries in a very pleasurable way, very enlightening way, which are also scientific. Most of the time they strike the field of science also in that while doing so, because they say that in Pitta Dravya, Pitta Shankha, they say how that yellowish of the Shankha takes place. They have explained in such a way that the eye contact is with the object on the floor or on the table, which is a conch, okay, that is done. But by some reason or other, by mistake, dosha, he doesn't apprehend the whiteness of the object before it. He cognizes the object, but not the whiteness of it. It is incomplete. Then the Pitta Dravya is in the eye retina, and these rays are going out actually from the body because of his jaundice dosha, and when they get reflected in an object which is very much clear, like Shankha and all that, they come back, return back from the object to the eye, and while coming those rays, the returning rays are perceived by the eye. This is explained in our book, which is a physicist's area. This is well explained in our, like Pratibimba Bhranti also it is accepted. Why? How do we realize, how do we see our reflection? It is not the reflection is there in the mirror, but we see our own face actually. Because the eye rays strike the surface of the mirror and turn towards us and travel towards the face again. While coming, we again observe them. That's why the Pratibimba Bhrama takes place. This is because of that only the left becomes right. All these have been elaborately proved and explained in our texts, which also fall into the field of science. Now he says it is a scene, rope is a scene, but it is not taken as rope. All characteristics of rope are not realized, so it is an incomplete pratyaksha. And then because of some kind of similarity of its crookedness and also some color of that rope and all that, in shell silver, some kind of chakachakya, they call it, the kind of glowy nature of that, and also the shape of the shell. These will help to recollect him. They cause, because they are similar to the real silver, they cause a recollection of the real silver, which he has already experienced in his life somewhere, in the shop or in his house. Therefore, he recollects the silver, and this perception is also incomplete. This incomplete perception and the recollection, they both take place in quick sequence. Because of their taking place in quick sequence, he was unable to distinguish that these are the two pratyayas, these are the two cognitions, and makes a kind of erroneous cognition the complex cognition called idam rajatam. But he never accepts that there is any complex cognition like idam rajatam, and these are the two cognitions, and both of them are valid. Therefore, sarvam jnanam satyam astheyam. This is the position of Prabhakara Guru, which is really very close to our experience and very logical explanation. Of course, a lot of some nuances are to be explained, but it's a wonderful theory proposed by Prabhakara Guru. Then what Nayayika says is, of course, eye contact with the shell is there, that is pratyaksha. Again, it is incomplete. It is incomplete because that it is not experienced as a shell. Though it is a shell, it is experienced after eye contact only as this. This is common for Akhyati also. Only this, see, the shell perception has got two parts. One is thisness and one is a shell. Therefore, by dosha is inevitable in Khyativadas. So on account of dosha, he perceives the only thisness, but not it as a shell. Shellness is not experienced. And then again, he has got Rajatanubhava earlier, either in the shop or in his house. And it is not the memory. He doesn't go to memory. He sees it before as existing before him. How actual silver is in the shop. He is on a road. He is in a beach, in a sea beach. Therefore, how he can see the silver before in his front? This is one question very difficult for him to ask, because the eye is not in contact with the silver, real silver, which is there in the shop. But he accepts real silver is experienced. Now, how to explain this? For this sake, he accepts one alaukika sannikarsha. That is, laukika sannikarsha means the contact or 6 forms of contacts are accepted by him with which are, it is called sanyoga. With the shell, it is direct contact, laukika sannikarsha. With the silver, which is in the store, not in the beach, again a kind of sannikarsha, that is jnana. Rajata jnana is there in his mind. The jnana acts as a relation between silver in the shop and the object in front of him. Because of jnana lakshana pratyasati, he doesn't remember the sound. The difference between akhyati and anyadhakyati is, he doesn't remember the silver, but he sees the silver. He perceives the silver in front of him on account of the strength of alaukika pratyaksha called jnana lakshana pratyasati. This is propounded by Nayayika, which is what is called anyadhakyati. Anyad, anyatha. Anyad vastu, anyatha prakashate. Anyad vastu shall, anyatha like rajata prakashate, khyayate prakashate. This is what. Now Bhagavat Pada, let us come to quickly to Anirvachaniya Khyati, because our time is very limited. We have to say a lot. Now you hold this in your mind very carefully. Both of them are very wonderful theories, well explained, and they have got several arguments. Discussions are still going on. No one concedes defeat in Shastric lore, and everyone comes out with his own arguments afresh. But for a commonly understanding, now let us see what is Bhagavad Pada says, how closer it is to our experience. That's all. Now, similar to the Anyatha Khyati, the shell is the object in front of us. Actually, it is a shell. We are on the beach. It is a shell. So, eye is in contact with the shell. The shell has got some kind of similarities of its white color and also a particular shape of a round or somewhat silver aspect, and also kind of glowiness. And when sun rays also act as a dosha here. Dosha means don't immediately think that it is something wrong. Dosha means those factors which cause the erroneous cognition. They are all called doshas. And they can be one dosha or several doshas. There is no, number of doshas can also be there. Now, even sun rays also do act as a dosha because of the fall of the sun rays. This white color has given a kind of chakachakya, that is glowy glow. Therefore, for a moment he thought it is silver and he wants to pick it up. He was so sure that it is silver, he tries to pick it up with an idea that he can make some ornament or vessel with that kind of silver which is given by God, which is thrown somewhere by someone, and by his own destiny he got it. This is what he is feeling at that moment. So it is really experience. He experiences the silver. Therefore, the eye contact is with only silver, a shell. Okay, it is at par with every theory. Even in Akhyati, the case is that. Even in Anyadha Akhyati, the case is so. But where from this silver has come? Bhagavad Pada says, as long as silver is experienced, the silver comes into existence there in front of the person that he says, that sees. It is there in existence according to Bhagavad Pada. You see the common, how realistic and how logical we were in accepting this. Where from it is born? Who are the parents of that shell silver? And jocularly they say, its parents are very difficult. It is because you don't know the shell as a shell. You just simply we analyze. If we realize the shell as a shell, most of the time in the beach, we also realize so many shells as shells only. Only occasionally we feel this erroneous cognition arises, only occasionally. So, why it has, the reason for feeling the silver is that fundamental reason for that is that we have not realized that it is a shell. Only idamtva is given to our consciousness, but not shuktitva. There are two parts in the object in front of us. That is idantva and suktitva. The suktitva is not felt, idantva is felt. Because suktitva is not felt, there was a possibility of superimposition of silver into that. For a moment, if suktitva, think about, if suktitva is also given to our cognition, our understanding, is there any possibility for superimposition? No possibility. This is there in every system. In Akhyati, let it be Anyadha, everyone has to accept up to this point. Sukti should not be felt as a sukti for all Khyativadas. Therefore, Shukti Ajnana is there. Sukti Ajnana is the basis because of which we superimpose silver on that. This Ajnana acts as the parents of the Ajnana, from the Suktinistha Ajnana, acts as the material cause, Upadana Karana, for a kind of Rajata which has got a kind of reality with it. It is not non-existent. It is not unreal. Look into Bhagavad Pada's mind. It is not non-existent. It is non-existent for all people in front. There is no other Khyātivāda who accept the existence of silver in front of us. But Shankara Bhagavad Pada dares to accept that silver exists in front of that. Why he dares to do so? Because he argues that otherwise why should he proceed to pick it up? If it is there in the silver shop, he has to go to silver shop to pick it up, not in front of not to his forefront. Therefore, we have to accept a kind of existence, a kind of reality to the silver as long as it is experienced. This is Bhagavad-pada's position. That's why its satta is given as a pratibhasika satta. Yavat pratibhasam vartate. So long as it is experienced, it is in existence in front of us, carrying a kind of reality with it. Its reality is just like the mosquitoes. Today they were born, tomorrow they are dead. For its existence is only for one day, whereas our existence is for 100 years, and Devata's existence can be longer than us. Therefore, everything has got its own time limit and all that. Therefore, it originates in the Shukti, not in the Shukti, but Shuktinistha Ajnana. The ignorance of Shukti is Upadana Karana, material cause for the birth or for coming into existence of Rajata, and it comes into existence of in the place of Shukti so long as it is experienced, until the person picks it up by his hand, sees its weight and throws it out. That is only shell. I got a mistaken cognition. It is only shell. It is not silver. It is of no use to me. Immediately he throws it. Therefore, until then, it is there. That's why he says is pratibhasika satta. So we accept three sattas. Everyone accept only two or even one. For there is no distinction for other people. But we accept three sattas. That is the unsublatability in all the three times, past, present, and future. That is trikalabadhyatva satyatva. That is only for the Brahman. Only Brahman and no other thing, no other object in the world or elsewhere is trikalabadhya. Then, second, this is the pratibhasika satta. The third one is for shell silver and Shukti Rajata. That is, in all erroneous cognitions, the object is being born and being dissolved. Where it goes, where it gets dissolved, where it gets involutioned, dissolution, that is from where it has come. That is from again Ajnana. It comes out of Ajnana, Sukti Ajnana, and it goes back into Ajnana. This is Pratibhasika Satta. Similarly, the objects of dream state also are all like this. They come from they originate there. As long as the Swapna is experienced according to Advaita, it is real. It is real, Pratibhasika real. Don't say real means Brahma reality. There are three levels of reality. So Brahman reality and the Pratibhasika reality. These two are now we are clear. And on the basis of this Pratibhasika reality, Shankara Bhagavad-pada argues the world other than the Brahman carries a distinctive reality of its own. Neither it is Trikalabadhya, nor it is Pratibhasika. It is, therefore, it is not, therefore, it continues for some time. That is the Vyavaharika Satta. That the whole world and all of us are Vyavaharikas. As long as, that's why, even after getting out of our sleep, we are there. We continue, and we also recollect that I slept yesterday morning, yesterday night. Therefore, this world is not denied. It has got greater reality than Pratibhasika, but lesser reality than the Brahman. All that Shankara Bhagavad-pada wants to argue is only this. If any common mind says that it is, the world is also unsublatable in all the three times of past, present, future, okay, let him do it. Let science prove it. No one under the sun can do it. One day or other it has to be destroyed. All this is Bhagavad-pada said, as per our own experience, there is, we never denied the world. We never negated the world. Mithyatva means that is, it is Anirvachaniya means it is neither be describable as real nor unreal. Unreal example for unreality is only Seshasringa. That is the horn of a Sesha. That is, or we say Akasha Pushpa. All these are non-existent things. Non-existence. They were never existent in any given time. But whereas the Rajju Sarpa Sukti Rajata is not the case of it. It's not unreal. It is neither real, it is neither describable as real, nor describable as unreal, neither real and unreal, because both terms do contradict each other. Therefore, it enjoys a kind of reality that is of the fourth category. Chaturtha Kotikam. This is what Bhagavad says. That is what is called Anirvachaniya Khyati. Now, who has got, where is the problem of misunderstanding Advaita? And he is most practical, most he appeals to the common mind, he appeals to the scientific mind. And for this, his theory of Anirvachaniya, lots of Shruti Vakyas he quotes. It's not that founded by him on the basis of reason or only experience, but strongly on the basis of Shrutis. I think I made my point clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shastriji, for explaining to us very clearly that Advaitins are not deniers of this world, and in fact they factor for both the supreme reality, which is not negated in all three times, and the world that we see at large. It's wonderful. No wonder, as you said, that the Advaita philosophy is very strong. The Advaita argument is very strong, and it cannot be penetrated, and neither can it be destroyed. So wonderful. That was a great exposition, and that's why.
Thank you.
That is the feedback we are receiving in a chat box also, that you have explained all these theories very clearly. So Anirvachaniya, I'll just ask this question. So this Anirvachaniya Khyati is the main principle that Shankara explains it through all his bhashyas. Is that what is what he's always trying to address through his works?
Yeah, among the Khyativadas, we hold the Anirvachaniya Khyati. On account of this strength of Anirvachaniya Khyati, we argue in favor of the world being Mithya. Mithya means Anirvachaniya. Mithya is equal to Anirvachaniya. These are two terms denoting one and the same sense. It means only this, that it is neither real nor unreal. The third position is contradictory. Therefore, it is the Chaturtha Kotika that is called Sadasat Bhinna. It is Sadbhinna as well as Asadbhinna. That is why it is called Anirvachaniya. That is Vyavaharika Satta actually. So, Sukti Rajata helps us to the most common experiential erroneous cognitions which are there in experience of every common man, like shell silver and the snake, rope snake and all that. They act as the examples to argue that the world can also be experienced as real, but need not be real. That's why he argues that the world, like you, me, and all this, the whole universe is also Sat, but only as long as Vyavahara. That is Brahma Sakshat. Until Brahma Sakshatkara, what is Vyavaharikatva? Brahma Pramatirikta Abadhyatva. It cannot be sublated by anything other than the Brahma Sakshatkara. Until Brahma Sakshatkara, Atma Sakshatkara, the world is as real for us as for Vishishtadvaitin, as for any other religious person. No distinction at all. That's why all our karma kanda, all our bhakti, that's why we were able to accommodate karma, bhakti, upasana, and all that. Otherwise, in Shankara's philosophy, there is no scope to accommodate them if we misunderstand that world as a non-existent.
Exactly. So it's a very big umbrella, really, Advaita Vedanta, and it accommodates a lot of people, contrary to the misunderstanding that it denies people or it is intolerant of other views. It is really...
It is much tolerant. Even karma theory holds good, jnana theory holds good. Even Saguna Brahma theory holds good, though we accept Nirguna Brahman. Our Brahman is Nirguna. But we are every other day, even Shankara Bhagavad-pada wrote hundreds of stotras. Saguna Brahman also we accommodate in our theory, whereas other Vedantins cannot accommodate some of the Vedic statements. For example, as Nirguna Brahman, they cannot accommodate Nirguna Brahman because they are only Saguna Brahmavadins. They have got some problem, whereas Nirguna Brahman is proclaimed by the Upanishads. They go against the spirit of Upanishads, whereas we accept Nirguna Brahmavada and then accommodate Saguna Brahma and all the Karyakarana Bhavas, everything, science and philosophy, everything has got, politics, everything has got in its place. That's why Dharma Shastra and Samaja Shastra, everything is applicable for us as it is applicable for anybody else.
Yeah, I have another question. You also said that the threefold methodology of our Advaita Vedanta is Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. So does that mean that every point that Shankara makes, he also supports it through Anubhava? I mean,
yeah. Most of the time he shows the Anubhava. I didn't come across, okay, sometimes he is not there, commentators are there, but Anubhava is given very great importance. That's why I say that, in fact, we can argue in favor of Advaita only on the basis of Anubhava. I take 1 minute and make my point clear. We say Brahman, time is over, I believe.
No, please go ahead. You can just explain this to us.
Okay. Now, Brahman is Nirguna, we held. Okay, let us forget about the Shruti and Yukti. Now, how to prove it on the basis of Anubhava? I tell you very crudely, very rudely. I don't have time to elaborate. Now go to your Sushupti level, which is given to everyone's experience. Every living being goes into Sushupti. Then what remains? Do all your characteristics remain in your Sushupti? Are you lady in Sushupti? Your name, your form, your caste, your position, your... nothing remains in our Sushupti. All of us become only one in Sushupti. But only thing is, Ajnana is also prevalent. That's why it is not Moksha. Otherwise, it is equivalent to Moksha. In Moksha, Ajnana is there. Here it is, Ajnana is there. Now, in that common experience state, how do you feel your own Atman? You describe your own Atman. Do you describe him as white or black or dark or fair? No. Do you describe him as man or woman? No. Do you describe him as an officer and a servant? No. Therefore, if Jiva himself is such a Nirguna Tattva, then as a corollary, from known to unknown, Brahman should be Nirguna. You see how easily we can argue in favor of all our inputs of Advaita on the basis of Anubhava itself. And it has got the Shruti support also in the Mandukya. Mandukya Upanishad speaks on this. It's not that Anubhava we pick up as an authority. We pick up Shruti and collaborate it with our Anubhava.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shastriji. We are really grateful to you for having explained to us this wonderful knowledge, and we are grateful to you, and we would like to have you again at any of our sessions. Thank you very much.
It is my pleasure, and also I remain grateful to Advaita Academy for having given this opportunity to me. And thanks, my thanks are due to all authorities. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
There is just one for Mr. Ram Mohanji. I think you wanted some explanation. I've shared the email address of Tulsi Joshi ji over here. So if you want to have any further clarifications, you can email it to him. That's what he has said. So this 1 month long festival continues, and tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. India time, we have 2 video sessions. One is Advice of Adi Shankaracharya to Present Day Women by Lakshmi Chidambaram, and Adi Shankara for the Youth by Brother Surya Narayana. So we have 2 sessions, so please attend them and once again learn about this wonderful teachings of Adi Shankara. Namaste and good night.
Thank you.